Hi there team, it's Tanya here. I've stepped in today to talk with you about the use of literature in both professional practice but also academic settings as well. I can remember doing my first degree and feeling, certainly in the first year, feeling that the work I was doing at university was so far divorced from what would be happening in the workplace that it wasn't even funny. It was only when I finished my degree and I was out in the workforce that I could make connections between what I'd covered in university and the requirements of different job roles. I thought it might be helpful if I explored the connection between what we're doing here and professional practice for you guys. I really want you to see value in what we're doing because I think it's going to help you really engage and get the most from the experience. So as mentioned, today I'm going to be talking about literature and professional practice. As you go forward into your careers as teachers, psychologists, criminologists, and into any other field, it's likely that you will engage in what is known as evidence-based practice. What's evidence-based practice? It might be helpful to look at a fictional example of two teachers, Joe and Sam. Alright, so we've got Sam and Joe. They're teachers who share a teaching role. I've used teachers as an example, but it could just as well be psychologists, criminologists, or any other profession. In this particular case study, a new student is about to enter their classroom. This student has a barrier that impacts on their learning. Both Sam and Joe are caring individuals and they really want to make sure that they do their absolute best to support this student. So they both go out and seek further information. However, they choose quite different sources. Sam has a bit of a chat to people in her social circle, has an explore of Facebook, and reads the opinions of a local politician in a fairly questionable newspaper. Sam uses this information to design a learning program. This is not an example of evidence-based practice. Sam has used opinion to determine how she operates as a professional. Sam, in this instance, is not fulfilling her duty of care. There's no evidence that suggests that any of the feedback people have given her is valid or will actually help this student. So Sam might be applying an intervention or might be developing a learning program that doesn't work or even worse, sets the student back. Joe, like Sam, seeks out further information. Unlike Sam, Joe is quite careful in the choice of sources. She goes to peer-reviewed journals to find her information. She also speaks to professionals who have worked with individuals with the learner's barrier. Jo uses the information she's collected to design a learning program. This is evidence-based practice. While there's no guarantees that the learning program is going to work with this particular learner, it is more likely that the program will be effective. As such, Jo is fulfilling her duty of care as a professional. So in both professional practice and also in academic settings, there are a few steps you need to be able to take in order to make the most of literature. First step is selecting the right sources. For the most part, these will be peer-reviewed journals and the articles within. You also need to be able to critically evaluate the information presented. You need to be able to work out whether the information is relevant. And you also need to make sure that the information is robust. We don't expect you to go out there and find information and simply repeat it back. We want you to really think about the information. And we also want you to develop your own informed position. Each of these steps requires quite a sophisticated skill set. The good news is that every time you read an article, every time you post in the discussion board, every time you work on an assignment, every time you read and take on board feedback, you are developing your capacity to choose the right sources, critically evaluate sources, and develop your own informed position. Practice doesn't make perfect, but it certainly does make progress. Here are some general tips that also may help. Avoid quoting directly or simply stating what a researcher has said or found. It's all very well to go out and find relevant information and bring it back, but you need to do something with it. It can be helpful to compare and contrast different findings on the same topic. This can really help you develop a well-rounded argument. It's important to explain what the author meant using your own words. It's also equally important to acknowledge the source of information. You should also explore the ramifications of the author's points. Consider the implications of their findings. It's also important that you make sure that the points you make are directly related to the assignment criteria. A clear connection with the assignment criteria is absolutely vital.